Welcome, everybody, to Shmooze Radio. We come to you every single Tuesday on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I am your host, Rabbi Elazar Bogomilsky. You know, I thought today it would be interesting to talk about a holiday that's sort of comes on the back of the most serious and well-known Jewish holiday, the Day of Awe, the Day of Fasting, the Day of Yom Kippur, as we call it in Hebrew, a Day of Atonement. It's a serious day, a day of 24 hours dedicated immersion of prayer and connecting and bonding on a very spiritual level. And then 5 days later, the 15th day in the Hebrew month of Tishrei, which we're presently in, and this year it falls out this coming Wednesday evening, marks another Jewish holiday, and this holiday is called Sukkot. Sukkot has a very, very different taste on many different levels. The holiday is all about joy. Biblically, it's known as the time of our rejoicing, the time of being happy, celebrating, big feast, lots of food, lots of dancing, singing, and so on. And it's a time when you see your neighbor, if they are in any way following some sort of a tradition based on Judaism. At this time of the year, they'll be building a little hut outside their home. And it's a temporary hut. That's what it's supposed to be. A temporary hut that's built outside your home. And it's meant for this week, a week-long holiday, that every single day the meals that we normally would eat inside the home, we eat inside this place called a sukkah. A sukkah literally means a little hut, a little dwelling. And it's, of course, based on a biblical encounter as the Jewish people were traveling through the desert. They dwelled in Sukkot. You know, there are many, many details connected to this holiday. But the basic things that I want to cover with you today, to give you a little bit of understanding behind the idea of this holiday, the lessons in connection to this holiday, the message for life that is derived from this unique tradition of eating in the Sukkot, and at the same time fulfilling the mitzvah, the commandment of every single day, shaking the lulav and the esrog. The lulav is the palm branch, the etrog is the citrus fruit, and I'll talk about that in a second, a deeper understanding of this tradition. In fact, if you come from any large city, especially in New York City, they have these huge outdoor sukkot that can easily fit in a very comfortable manner a couple of hundred people. And the sukkah is made up of whatever the walls are made, but the schach, which means the covering, the part that goes, as we call the roof of the sukkah, has to be made from non-man-made material. So it has to be made from something that's grown. Most people use bamboo sticks, bamboo mats, or you see cedar trees, branches, palm branches in in Florida it's very common, in California it's very common. And this is a tradition that's been going on for literally thousands of years. Ever since the Jewish people left the lands of Egypt, this holiday of Sukkot was established year after year. Now, what's interesting about this sukkah, there's a couple of important ideas that I want to share with you. In fact, I always like to share in my sukkah, when I'm sitting there with family and friends and discussing to the participants the uniqueness of dwelling and sitting and eating and celebrating in the sukkah, there's a beautiful message, and that is every act of goodness and kindness. In Hebrew, we call it every mitzvah. Every mitzvah means every commandment, connection, communication that we do in this physical world. Usually, we're doing it with a certain part of our body. When you're visiting someone in the hospital, you're doing it with your legs, you're running, you're walking, you're going. When you give someone a hug, you're using your arms. When you extend charity, you're using your arms, connecting it to the heart as well. When you're speaking kind words, you're using your head, and so on and so forth. You can break this down, that every time you engage in an act that is somehow connected to doing one of the 613 commandments, you're usually doing it 1, 2, or 3 limbs at the most, but you're not doing it with every single area of the body. There's only one commandment, and that is the immersion, and sort of, we call it in Hebrew, the mikvah, which is a spiritual body of water, and you immerse your whole entire body into that. But that's, again, something that you do in a private manner. You don't do it with your clothes on. It's a private, personal experience. The sukkah, on the other hand, this interesting commandment that God tells the people of Israel, you should dwell in your sukkah for 7 days. And we take this holiday till this very day on a very personal and meaningful way. We invite friends and family, and we have huge meals in the sukkah. It's the code of Jewish law describes everything you do in your home. You should spend that same amount of time if you can. Especially this year, it's going to be beautiful weather. It's almost not a challenge to sit outside and enjoy the company in your beautiful sukkah that's been decorated and has all the, it's a really a peaceful and beautiful space. But the question is, what do we gain from it by sitting out in the sukkah? Why can't a person just say, I can gather around my dining room table, my living room area, my kitchen, and we can hang and have a great time? What's this unique component of bringing people out to the back of your house, on your deck? If you go to certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn, you'll see every single patio is designed and built that it should be able to house a sukkah for 1 week. Which means, if you ever notice, most patios that are built, if you're into construction and you see certain things, you'll notice that buildings usually have each patio stacked on top of the one above it. So when you look at the building, you see an entire 10, 20 stories, and everyone has their balcony going right directly above the one above. You'll see in some of these neighborhoods that have 4 or 5 story buildings, they design it in a way that each balcony should have a clear opening to the sky, because one of the rules of building a sukkah is that it has to be under the sun. It has to be under the stars. And in order for it to be under the stars, it has to be open, and you can't do it under someone else's deck. So it's very interesting, this whole idea of going out there, building this temporary little dwelling, covering it with bamboo or whatever other things that you use that's not man-made and all natural, and it has to be all grown. And you go ahead and you cover it and you dwell in it and you sort of relax and pray and sing, and it's really more about eating and dwelling and the enjoyment of the day that you do inside the sukkah. And yet you're doing it right beneath the stars. It's right there. Why? And I think one of the simple answers that most people hopefully can appreciate is that when you sit with other people in the commandment of sitting in a sukkah, in a certain sense, your entire existence, your entire body is immersed and surrounded by this action. So if you think about it from a certain perspective, it's the only commandment. It's the only mitzvah. It's the only way of fulfilling God's desire, so to speak, as one of the 613 commandments. To do it in a way that you can invite family, friends, and so on. And you could be sitting around the table, and the sukkah sort of surrounds and culminates every single person that's sitting within its structure. And the question is, who cares? Why are we getting so caught up on these details? Sitting inside a sukkah, it's surrounding me, it's a mitzvah, a connection, spirituality. Give me something that I can sort of sink my teeth into, makes a difference in my life. And here's where I want to introduce an interesting way of celebrating this holiday. There's a unique component, and you see this. Sukkah mobiles, downtown Seattle is going to have one, various different places throughout Washington State. And of course, wherever you travel, you're going to see sukkahs in public areas that individuals invite people to come in and take this palm branch in your right hand. Connected to the palm branch is a willow branch. In Hebrew, we call them hadassim and aravot. So you have a lulav, which is a palm branch, hadassim, and aravot, which translate to be the willow branch and the myrtle branch. And what you do is you tie them together, and in your left hand, you take an etrog, which is a citrus fruit, which really, ironically, it looks very similar to a very large lemon. And there are those that pay a hefty price for this seemingly large lemon, not called a lemon, but it's called an etrog. And it's very different than a lemon. If you use an etrog, you did not fulfill the commandment. You did a nice looking action, but it actually is not what's meant to be. And this etrog is what makes it so unique. This etrog on a open market, a very inexpensive set, which means the myrtle branch, the willow branch, the palm branch, and the citrus fruit together can run as low as $16 to $25, and it can go up over $1,000. Yes, there are many people that will be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars for the course of this week. That's it. It's only for 1 week. After the week, you sell it by the pound. And this year, ironically, there's the higher end etrogim, as they're called in Hebrew, this citrus fruit that comes from Calabria, which is a place in Italy. Many of them come from Israel, of course, as well. But Calabria are the real exclusive and expensive etrogim. This year they're running anywhere from $200 to $1,500 an etrog. We're talking about literally, it looks like a large lemon. What you're looking for a flawless etrog, which would mean it would have not a single spot not even a dot. And the shape of it has to have a certain shape to it, the color and so on and so forth. And if you Google what an etrog looks like, you'll see what I'm talking about if you're not familiar with this idea. This is a very traditional, based on verses in the Bible that describe that you should take on this special holiday a beautiful fruit. That's the expression that's used. Pre-Eitz Hadar, the expression is. Pre in Hebrew means a fruit. Eitz, that grows on a tree. And Hadar means that it is beautiful. And the Talmud goes into great length to describe that Hadar also means that it stays on the branch from season to season. There are many fruits that are beautiful and that smell good and that taste good, but they're seasonal. And after a certain period, they'll just fall off the branch. An etrog, on the other hand, is one of the very unique fruits that stay on the branch literally from year to year if you would not cut it off. And hence, that's why the rabbis interpret this verse, this biblical verse, to take this type of beautiful fruit, and they translate it to mean an etrog. So you have people taking from all different parts of Israel etrogim, and this is a huge, huge industry. If you go to parts of New York, you see tables set out in the main street, and literally people just choosing and shopping for the ideal-looking etrog. People will spend 2 to 4 hours analyzing with magnifying glasses and seeking and searching if there's any blemish at all within this fruit, any nick, even that looks like a tiny little dot or speck of dirt. It removes hundreds of dollars of value from what an etrog is all about. And I highly recommend a great film. I rarely do this, but this is probably an all-time, it should be your top 10 that you should see over the next couple of weeks at least. It's called Ushpizen. It's a movie that I think came out maybe over 10 years ago, I believe already. But it's an amazing movie that really depicts and describes a very powerful storyline about the holiday of Sukkot, and in particularly about the uniqueness of the quality and the importance of spending the right amount, by all means, on an etrog. And again, go watch the movie. It's called Ushpizen. Ushpizen. I don't know how they spell that in English, but it's based on a Hebrew word, but I'm sure you can find it, Ushpizen. I'm sure even Netflix might even have it. But the bottom line is, there's a very important message in relationship to these different types of articles that we use in connection to the holiday. And I'm going to walk you through them because I think this is something that really tells us, in a certain sense, the importance of why we celebrate. Why do we call it the day of our rejoicing? Why is it really such a unique and celebrated holiday that we pause from everything? I know we just came out of a week from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, exactly 10 days. 10 days of awe, 10 days of repentance, 10 days of transformation, 10 days of making a new commitment and reuniting and igniting our relationship with our Creator, promising Him the world that we're going to do this and so on and so forth, to the point that the peak is on the day of Yom Kippur. We open our hearts and we say, God, forgive us for all our actions. We're going to be the most amazing person that you ever created. But 5 days later, we put it into a certain level of action. And we have to express in a revealed way a certain level of joy, of celebration, of happiness. And I want to share with you this thought because I think that when you hear this, you'll begin to understand what truly makes a celebration meaningful. Each one of these branches, each one of these different articles signify and identify a different type of individual. And let's break them down one by one. A myrtle branch. A myrtle branch has an amazing smell. It's beautiful. People throughout the year will cut off a piece from a myrtle branch and they'll put it into their, into a vase and have it there just to enjoy the smell. Some people will dry it out and use it as a spice. It's beautiful. But you don't eat it. So it has a great smell, but it lacks the ability of taste. You have the palm branch. The palm branch, ironically, that you use in Hebrew called the lulav. It's a closed one. We're not talking about one that opens, but there are many laws built around how straight and how firm the branches have to be, the leaves, have to be in connection to the structure of this article called a lulav. So in a certain sense, when you look at it at face value, it almost looks like a stick. But really, it's a palm branch that hasn't yet opened up its, spread its leaves, so to speak. A palm branch grows dates. Dates have a taste, but of course, lack smell. The willow branch. What about the willow? The willow has beauty to it and its structure, but it has no smell. As we call it in Hebrew, the arava. It has no smell, and it clearly has no taste as well. And then you have the citrus fruit, which of course has a profound and really remarkable smell. And it also has a beautiful taste. There are many people's, their grandmother's jelly, etrog jelly, is considered the best. Each one brags about how their grandmother knew how to make it the most amazing etrog jelly. But the bottom line is, that's each one of these articles. Some have a smell with no taste. Some have a taste with no smell. Some have neither, and some have both. Why? So the way we relate to them is as follows. In Judaism, that's divided into two components. You have the intellect of God's wisdom, which we call in Hebrew the Torah, the teachings, the commandments, the stories, the inspiration, the guidance. That's what Torah is, the lessons for life. The lessons for life relate to what? The smell, the way, the aroma of Torah, as we call it. When you surround yourself and when you immerse yourself in the teachings of God's wisdom, it has a beautiful aroma, hence the expression, Reach nechoach, a very pleasant and beautiful aroma. But the action, what about the action? One can engage their life in study, in theory, so to speak. Get all excited about all the theoretical ideas. But then you have one that says, wait a second. It's not just about the wisdom, but it's about applying wisdom. And that's what we call in Hebrew mitzvot. Mitzvot, I like to use the term, they're called actions. Because you can't do a mitzvah in theory. Theoretically, you can't go visit someone when they need you. Theoretically, you can't give someone charity if you never actually made that transfer from your pocket to theirs. In reality, when you speak to someone and you say kind words, it has to come out physically. You can't say, I thought about being nice to that person. You don't receive reward for theoretical behavior. The world we live in is the world of action. And in the world of action, in order to communicate, to get ahead, to have impact, there has to be the physical interaction, the physical gestures of kindness, the compassion, the selflessness of money giving over to someone else, the nurturing of a human being. It all takes physical interaction, engagement, and so on. That's the power of a mitzvah. A commandment means that it's not, I commanded you to think good. There's no commandment to think good. You got to do good. Hence, mitzvot, the actions of God, the way we really become closer with God. In fact, the mystics describe the uniqueness of the word mitzvah in Hebrew. And they say mitzvah does not mean commandment, as many people loosely translate. Mitzvah does not mean that because God commanded us to do so, I'm doing this. What mitzvah means is connection. And the more we do those type of relationships of us giving to someone else, doing what God asks of us as a human being, we become closer with our Creator. Hence, that's what the word mitzvah is. It's a connection between us and our Creator. The more mitzvot we do, the more our relationship becomes closer and closer to God. It's that simple, really. And hence the idea is the more mitzvot we do, the more we become a more spiritual body, because we are physically transforming our existence and we're elevating ourselves to have a more spiritual connection. So when a person says, I'm doing good deeds are not mitzvot. Because then you can say, I did a good deed, I'm done for the day. I did 1, I did 2, I did 5. Hence, the real translation of the word mitzvah is not commandment or good deed. It's connection. It's that bond. It's that unity. It's that every single time you do it. If you visit someone on Sunday, and then you went back Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday, all it means is that each action that you're doing, you're becoming closer with the Creator that gave us such remarkable rewards for following in His ways. So we have two things. We have Torah, which is sort of the intellect, the intellectual relationship. The idea that we stimulate our intellect to want to do good and know how to do good, and perhaps maybe even learn the reasons why we do good. But then you have a thing called a mitzvah, and that's communication, connection, action. And that's relates to something that tastes good. When you go ahead and you run and you do acts of goodness and kindness, you feel satiated. On a spiritual level, you feel uplifted. On a mundane level, you feel literally satiated. You feel good. You eat differently. You act differently. Hence, you have these two ideas. Torah on one hand, mitzvot on the other. The problem is, there are some individuals that lack both. They're like the willow branch. They don't engage in any spiritual pursuit. They're not looking to learn more. To them, it seems like a burden, foreign. Seems like an ancient historical story. God, I got no time for you now. Actions, forget about that. I'm building my own career. I'm trying to just make a living. What do you want from me? I should go visit someone else. Later on in life, when I'm more relaxed, maybe then I'll start taking upon myself these actions. They lack in both. Both tracks, the track of Torah, the track of mitzvot, just like the willow branch. Lacks in both. Then you have those like the myrtle branch. Intellectually, they love it. The aroma of spiritual pursuit is exciting. To debate it, to analyze it, to know the nuances of all the different reasons why we do certain things. They study it, and they get another degree, and another degree. And you come to visit them, and you see walls that are decked with degrees of achievement, spiritual pursuit, intellectual pursuit. But then you ask them, what did you ever do in the real world? They say, you kidding me? I'm so busy learning, acquiring knowledge. I don't have time for action. That's the myrtle branch. It smells good, but there's no taste. You have on the flip side of that, you have the palm branch, which produces dates that has a good taste, but no smell. You have some people that say it's all about action and only action. You tell someone there's a favor to be done, they'll run across the world to do that person the favor. Truly genuine, kind people, compassionate. But when you turn to them and you say, come on, spend some time to study the reasons behind this. Learn the why of life. Learn the deeper purpose of why we're here. Who sent this? What's the message? They say, I don't get it. It's not for me. I don't have time for that. Again, a good taste, but lack the aroma, lack the smell, just like the palm branch. Comes along the fourth category known as the etrog. The etrog is this interesting citrus fruit. It's a lemon par excellence, if you want to use that term. Real expensive one. It has an amazing smell. The mere fact, just by holding it in your hand before you even cut it open, has an aroma that literally, if you ever went into a room of 50 to 100 different etrogim, the room has a whole different smell. Symbolizes a person that's engaged in the pursuit of knowledge, of communication, of connection. Cares, wants to know the reasons why and everything. But when you slice that etrog open, it has a delicious taste as well, symbolizing the person that understands the ultimate purpose is to have that balance, to have the spiritual pursuit, the knowledge base, the wisdom as we call it, and at the same time, understand the importance of what it means to be a person of action. All the different awards and degrees that one can receive on the wall are great, but if you don't apply them to the real world, then how does the world benefit from that knowledge? A person can immerse themselves in the books and say, I figured this out and I know this. But if you never write it down and share it and teach it and educate others and inspire others and apply them to areas of life that people can benefit from it, you haven't fulfilled the balance of life. But comes along the holiday of Sukkot. And this is the message that I want to share with you. That we turn to the world and we say, you know what we're going to do for this week? A week-long holiday. Every single day, we're going to hold in our hands 4 different species. 4 different species, the myrtle branch, the willow branch, the palm branch, the citrus fruit. In Hebrew, the lulav, the etrog, the hadassim, and the aravot. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, you're not better. I'm not better. This one that lacks everything is no less important than the one that is fully immersed in both spiritual pursuit and action as well. And we hold them together and we shake it. And we symbolize and we show the world. And those that have a custom even to sort of shake in each direction of the world. Right, left, up, down, north, south, east, west. You go to all directions. And the message is very clear. That true celebration, the time when we really can call it the days of our rejoicing, plural. It means that each and every person is part of that rejoice. We're not rejoicing those that intellectually can achieve, or those that have the ability to naturally be kind and generous, or work on it. That's not who is welcome into the party of Sukkot, so to speak. But the true celebration and the true Sukkah party that we're talking about over here for a week long is a celebration that every single person feels, I'm welcome. It's for me too. I'm equal to the other individual. And ironically, when you remove all the labels and you remove all the different categories of species, when you remove the labels of categories of different human beings, and we just look at the other person that I'm human and you're human, it doesn't make a difference what background you come from, where you were born, what level of knowledge you have, what type of life you conduct. We put that all aside. And we say for 1 week we're going to celebrate it's just me and you and its purity. What happens is, if you take a myrtle branch and a willow branch and a palm branch and an etrog, and you really bond and combine them together, when they're all hanging out together, everyone smells amazing. When they're all together, they can each benefit from the taste. The concept of unity, the power of one. That's what Sukkot is really all about. We all dwell underneath one single roof called a sukkah. It's known as a temporary dwelling to symbolize the idea that there isn't a firm separation between us and our Creator. Hence, it's temporary. It's there to identify the law. But on the other hand, it's also known to bring us that unique relationship and connection and communication with our Creator. This is what the holiday of Sukkot is all about. You might hear the name Sukkah. You might see it on different Jewish calendars. Sukkah, the holiday of Sukkah. And boy, you look at it and you see a highlighted week of celebration. You say, what's going on? I heard about Passover. I heard about Hanukkah. I heard about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, but Sukkot, it doesn't fit in. Too many Jewish holidays. I'm hoping that you take a look for a second at another perspective, another way of looking at life, another way seeing the uniqueness of this holiday. Talking about this festival, the holiday of Sukkot, the uniqueness, the message in relationship to how we celebrate, why we celebrate this holiday, why do we do it for a week long? And the answer is very clear, that the more we can remove the labels of individuals, and the more we can combine the essence of really who we are, that creates community. That creates the bond. That creates strength. You know, in Hebrew we have the term Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. And the question is, what's so profound about being a nation of Israel? And the truth is, there is no greater way to describe the uniqueness of numbers, that when people come together, on any level, and you really see this in families, you see this in businesses, you see this in classrooms, and you see it on almost every backdrop of life. That when there is division, all the challenges of life begin to pop up. You have many times families are made up of a bunch of different personalities. And you see it even more come alive when there are in-laws, so to speak. There are those that marry into that family. And each one brings a little bit of flavor of their own family. And then when it comes to a day like Thanksgiving, they say, you kidding me? I can't go there. I don't speak to this one. This one rubs me the wrong way. I can't handle this one. You see it in classrooms, cliques. From a young age, you see kids. This is my little circle of friends. The other ones are not cool. They're nerdy, whatever it may be, on different ages and levels, the way we start categorizing individuals. You see that in businesses. People associate themselves with individuals, and all of a sudden they say, you're not in my class. I can't even be seen together with you. You have those that will only join a certain club because they want to be labeled. Never mind the clothes that we wear, it's all about those that have Versace, Giorgio Armani. What is it exactly? How is it labeled? Who is the one that gets the credit? If we could remove that, and that's what Sukkot is all about. It's 7 days of focusing on a whole different level, looking at the source, the essence of each individual. Not looking at who's more intellectual, who's more cool, who's more fit, and who's more whatever it may be that gets us excited. But it's about me and you. And I'm hoping that people take this message that I share with you today about Sukkot, and we apply it to our personal life. How we can create that environment of no labels, just a lot of love, a lot of acceptance, a lot of inclusion. And believe me, that makes a powerful world. That makes a powerful nation. And that what makes America really, really amazing. You're listening to Shmooze Radio. We'll be back same time, same place next week.